The humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza defies comprehension. The latest report of the Secretary General on the implementation of Resolution 2334 describes the levels of suffering and brutality in Gaza as shocking and unbearable. In the words of the Secretary General, families have been displaced again and again and are now confined to less than 1/5 of Gaza's land. And even these shrinking spaces are under threat. Children are dying of malnutrition despite repeated warnings from UNICEF that malnourishment is rising at an alarming rate. In May alone, over 5,100 children between 6 months and 5 years of age were admitted for treatment for acute malnutrition. Since the collapse of the temporary ceasefire in March, more than 6,500 additional lives have been lost. The Secretary General's report also raises grave concerns about Israel's means and methods of warfare and reiterates the urgent need for accountability for atrocity crimes and other violations of international law. It further highlights the alarming number of Palestinians, including children, detained by Israeli forces and the continued surge in administrative detentions. These are very disturbing developments. Madam President, the so-called new aid distribution mechanism is not only contrary to international humanitarian law and human dignity, it places starving civilians in direct danger, forcing them to cross active combat zones in search of food and water. The result is a grotesque cycle of horror. Over 500 people have been killed while trying to access humanitarian aid. This is a death trap, as rightly described by the Secretary General. There is no need to reinvent the wheel with militarized, dangerous, and unlawful schemes. The UN already has a proven humanitarian delivery system grounded in humanity, neutrality, impartiality, and independence. What is needed is unhindered access and the political will to let the UN do its job. Madam President, the violence is not confined to Gaza. In the occupied West Bank, including East Jerusalem, Israel has intensified its military raids, expanded illegal settlements, and enabled unchecked settler violence. According to OCHA, between 7th October 2023 and 19th June 2025, 949 Palestinians, including at least 200 children, have been killed in the West Bank and over 40,000 forcibly displaced, the largest displacement since 1967. These actions constitute a blatant violation of international law and of Council's Resolution 2334, which unequivocally reaffirmed the illegality of Israeli settlements and demanded an immediate end to their expansion. 9 years since the adoption of Resolution 2334, we have not seen its implementation. Instead, we have witnessed regression and an emboldening of unlawful practices that obstruct the prospects for peace and the two-state solution. The failure to enforce the Council's own decisions carries grave consequences for global peace and security and undermines the Council's own authority and credibility. Madam President, the question of Palestine remains the core of the Arab-Israeli conflict. To resolve it justly and durably, the Security Council must act with urgency and clarity. Pakistan reiterates the following essential steps. First, Israel must immediately cease its military operations in Gaza and the West Bank. A permanent ceasefire must be established without further delay, and we support the ongoing efforts in that regard. Second, the blockade on humanitarian aid must be lifted fully and unconditionally. The UN and humanitarian organizations must be granted safe and unimpeded access. Third, we call for international support to the Arab League OIC plan for recovery and reconstruction in Gaza. This plan is essential not only for rebuilding Gaza but also for restoring hope and laying the foundation for lasting peace. Fourth, we call for practical and time-bound measures to ensure the implementation of Resolution 2334, which is essential to preserving the viability of the two-state solution and preventing irreversible facts on ground. Fifth, we reiterate the need for a credible and irreversible political process to realize the two-state solution based on the pre-June 1967 borders with Al-Quds al-Sharif as the capital of the State of Palestine. We support the earliest resumption of the high-level international conference to advance that goal. Madam President, this year marks the 80th anniversary of the UN Charter, a charter that enshrines the principles of justice, peace, and the sovereign equality of all peoples. Yet, in Gaza and across the occupied Palestinian territory, we see the most fundamental tenets of that charter continue to be trampled upon with impunity. The Council must not remain a bystander. It is imperative to address and tackle the root cause, to bring an end to the illegal Israeli occupation of the Arab territories. It is disingenuous to put the blame elsewhere. It is time for credible action to reaffirm our shared commitment to a just and lasting peace in the Middle East.
I give the floor to the representative of the United States.
Thank you, Madam President. And thank you, Assistant Secretary General Chiari, for your briefing. The stated purpose of this meeting is to report on the implementation of Security Council Resolution 2334. Regrettably, that resolution does not contribute to resolving the underlying issues, but instead distracts from very real, pressing threats to international peace and security. Resolution 2334 denies the factual and historical reality that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. It likewise seeks to advance a two-state solution through argumentation, ignoring a political reality that has been evident to all since October 7th, 2023. It is the wrong conversation at the wrong time. Let us be clear. Hamas bears absolute responsibility for the ongoing war in Gaza. Hamas began a war on October 7th, 2023, with a massacre of innocent civilians. Hamas has repeatedly rejected ceasefire proposals that Israel has accepted. It holds the people of Gaza for ransom, stopping at nothing to remain in power. The resolution encourages discriminatory boycotts on Israel, political warfare by another name, that does nothing but reward the barbarity of Hamas. Shamefully, the United Nations has yet to designate Hamas as a terrorist organization, even as it holds 50 hostages, including the remains of 2 American citizens. The United States will not rest until those in Hamas's captivity return to their families. The United States calls on this Council and the United Nations, including Secretary General Guterres, to join us in pressuring Hamas to end the bloodshed, disarm, and to give the people of Gaza a chance for a peaceful life. The United States will continue to work on improving the humanitarian situation on the ground, supporting the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation as it delivers life-saving aid to those in need without empowering terrorists. The GHF has committed to delivering aid consistent with humanitarian principles. And contrary to what Hamas wants the world to believe, GHF continues to provide vital food aid to Palestinian civilians in Gaza, distributing over 50 million meals as of June 29th. We know humanitarian aid coming through other organizations has been vulnerable to seizure by Hamas. and as of June 20th, Hamas has looted over 1,000 aid trucks from international organizations in Gaza. The video footage is available to all. By contrast, every single GHF truck, more than 700 in total so far, has reached its intended distribution site. We urge Council members to support the work of the GHF as it delivers life-saving aid to civilians on the ground. The alternatives are a gift to Hamas, allowing it to divert aid, profiteer, and strengthen its power in Gaza. With respect to the West Bank, the United States supports the efforts of the Israel Defense Forces and the Palestinian Authority security forces to counter violent extremists. We call on the Palestinian Authority to condemn Hamas and its brutal attack on October 7, 2023, to stop incitement to terrorism, and to fully implement its February 2025 commitment to end the practice of offering cash payments to the families of terrorists. The United States calls on Iran to end its sponsorship of terrorist groups and proxies, including Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. At this historic turning point, Iran's leaders have an opportunity to finally put their people first and to choose prosperity and integration into the community of nations rather than supporting terrorism and pursuing nuclear weapons. We state again, Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. The United States will continue to work tirelessly with Israel and our Arab partners to create a brighter and more prosperous future for all the region's people. And with that, I thank you, Madam President.
Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: African politics, economy, and increasing power. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.
Tell us what you think in the comment section. Like and share the video, and subscribe so that you don't miss any of our African videos. It's the best way to support us.